The accusations seem to be taking their toll on Moore's campaign. A Fox News poll shows the Democratic candidate up 8 points with 50% of the vote, while Moore has 42% of that vote. John Archibald is a columnist with AL.com, which includes newspapers in Huntsville, Mobile, and Birmingham, Alabama. All have written editorials calling for Judge Moore to withdraw from the race. He joins me now to discuss this issue. So we're looking at this issue right now, and we see that the governor of the state is actually standing in support of Roy Moore, yet your newspaper and others are joining to call for his resignation from the race, his withdrawal from it. Why?
Well, first of all, it's a pretty amazing statement to say that you believe that you have no reason to doubt the accusers, and yet you still support the candidate. I think that will have maybe some political repercussions along the way. My newspaper editorial did say to drop out. I would add that from what we know of Roy Moore and Roy Moore's history for the last 25 years, Roy Moore will never drop out of this race, and anybody who thinks he does is delusional.
Well, his wife came out in support of him, as you know, on Friday. She is standing by her man, and she went so far as to say that he has always been a gentleman. She believes that he will stay in and says that he will do so despite these allegations of sexual misconduct. With the wife supporting him and the first female Republican governor of the state to support him as well, what does that say to constituents in Alabama?
Well, they're clearly divided. There are quite a few of them who believe the women and have been motivated to say so. There are very many who say it doesn't matter to them in the same sense that Governor Ivey did, that the Republican candidate is more important, which, you know, is an extraordinary statement.
Well, John, when you look at these statements and the fact that these allegations are so riveting and revolting in many aspects, and the fact that he is still receiving support, there appears to be, if you will, a lot of people are saying, regardless of what the past may indicate about his behavior, there is forgiveness from the standpoint that he can sustain this onslaught. And many people are questioning the timing of it. And they're also stating he can move ahead and win this because they need a Republican senator, as the governor alluded to. Is it really that important to the people of Alabama, as well as the governor, and Kayla, his wife, of course, to move forward with a Republican in the Senate?
Well, they obviously, I mean, just from discussion about the tax vote today and future votes to come, they clearly feel that it's extremely important to keep that Republican seat, no doubt. The question is when they start looking forward at the party itself and what happens down the line, what does it do to the party when you say right now that it's more important to keep a party vote than it is to keep someone who you, by these people's own statements, might be a child molester? What does that say to people who are considering whether to become Republicans down the road?
John, finally, as we saw in Peter Ducey's report there, dozens of Christian ministers are coming out against Roy Moore and believe he is co-opting Christianity for the sake of winning votes. What do you say to that charge from people within his own flock?
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of people have said that all along, because Roy Moore sees his Christianity in the same way he sees his law, and that is through the lens of Roy Moore and not necessarily through more traditional ways. And let's face it, you know, there were a lot of ministers who came out opposed to him today. There were a lot of evangelicals who came out in favor of him over the last few days. So, I mean, this again is another split in the church, just as it's a split in politics.
John Archibald, thank you for your insights and your perspective on this, and we'll continue to follow the developments of this important story. Good day to you, sir.